Hello there, people of the internet. Welcome to a brand new episode of the Run Your Mouth podcast, special edition with nothing special about it. But we got news topics because that's what we do. Also, we're making some big time capital improvements over here. If you're listening to my sweet sultry voice and you're going, "Man, this guy sounds sexy as hell today," well, just know that's our capital improvements. And on this new board, I might go ultra compression. You might start listening to the show and be like, "Who's got that deep voice? How did this guy?" I might get set up 9 microphones. I might have microphones coming from all angles with all different voices on it. I'll just start having weirder conversations with myself and putting them out on the internet and then hoping more people go, "Hey, I like the way this guy talks to himself." And then they give me more money. And then all of a sudden, I'm all rich and shit just for having conversations with myself. So that's the goal. And everyone needs to have goals. If you don't have goals for your own life, you're not going to get anywhere. That's what they say. That I always read that in these books. They're like, you got to write it down. You got to tattoo it to your face. Every time you look in the mirror, you got to see that goal, because if you're not looking at that goal, you're not going to end up getting anywhere. All right. First, I'd like to talk about, we're always over here and we're talking about if things were just left to the free market, how great of a world we would live in. But, and I do believe that. I believe that it would be better. But I just want to make sure that we're not overstating our case, because everywhere I go, sometimes it's incredible to me the way people just can't handle their business. And it could be that if I was a customer of myself, I would be upset with myself for me handling my business. But I just feel like every time I interact with almost any service in any capacity, it's not working properly. And I'd like to go, because it's as simple as this. It's as simple as, how often are you eating somewhere and they don't have enough napkins available? I mean, how many times at the diner do they have to see somebody reaching for an extra napkin? I'm a big just steal a napkin person. That's the way I operate. If I'm sitting at that table, because they always give you one napkin. They know no one napkin's not going to work. Do you think your food is that not delicious that people are going to eat it with such care and delicacy that they're only going to need one napkin? I'd like to observe some of these restaurants and see how often a person actually makes it through an entire meal with a single napkin. In fact, you know what? Maybe I should start my own betting website where we do the weirdest fucking gambles on earth. And one of them will be the odds on whether or not an individual eating at the establishment will need a second napkin. Wouldn't that be great if there were literally odds in every single activity like that ever existed, so that business owners could not deny the fact that, like, they're just straight up wrong on things? But, like, that's what I'm saying. We like to pretend you get government out of the market. There's no government in the napkin market. No government agency has stepped in and regulated the amount of napkins that could be available to an establishment. No, every single establishment, they're being stingy with those napkins. They're trying to put allocations down at the table that don't make sense. They're trying to pretend like they've given you enough napkins to consume. But firstly, by the time you take the fork and knife out of the thing, the napkin's already a garbage napkin. This is already, this should be, or you know what? I've ruined a fair amount of pants. There should be, off the bat, there should be a napkin available for your pants. There should be a pants napkin, so you should have at least 2 napkins. I'm going to say each meal should come with at least 3 quality napkins off the bat. Or, a good spot, a good restaurant off the bat when they make a lot of napkins available. That's a place that's telling you, hey, while you're here, you can be a fatty. Get after it. Or here's another one. Dude, firstly, my water. Can I actually, if anyone can propose a guest to me on this, I've been a big time tap water drinker. It's there, it's free, because there was a time in my life when I was real neurotic where it's like, you can't be drinking the tap water. Yeah, they tell you, like, in New York City, it's the best water in the entire country, and I'm sure it is, but look at this shitty fucking building I'm in. You think this shitty building has clean pipes? And then at one point, I just got over that. I was drinking tap water, and I was doing the tap water thing. And then in this apartment, I was just drinking the tap water. And then one day I just was like, this water doesn't taste right. And then I was trying to ignore it because I didn't want to go back to being like, I can't be drinking tap water. I was like, I don't know. Something about this water just tastes off. And then, yeah, I'm not really friends enough with my neighbors to be knocking on their doors and be like, yo, your water tastes weird. And then you don't want to be the person calling up your friends and being like, hey, you want to come over and taste my water? I mean, that's got to be the worst. That's it. That's an invite even worse than, hey, you want to come look at my baby? Um, so anyways, I started drinking like bottled water, and I feel a lot better. I can't say for fact, but I feel like I can drink more at night and not be hungover. I feel like I have a focus that I haven't had before. I don't know what they really put in this fluoride. Maybe it was turning me gay, and I was spending so much time repressing those thoughts that I just didn't have energy for other activities, and so I needed to nap in the afternoon. But if you know any good guests out there that could really, scare us all about the shit that they put in our water to keep us poor, That's what they do. They take the poor people. They say, hey, we got free water for you. They pump it directly into your house, and then you're drinking it all the time. And then you're dealing with all these gay thoughts. You want to turn into other genders. And the next thing you know, you're not getting anything done with your life. You're not accomplishing any of your goals. All the things that you wanted to get done, it's just not happening for you. All right. Anyways. Oh, that was just one example. So then I went to a store. I bought a water filter. I didn't even go to the store for the water filter. It was an impulse buy. I'll be honest. I was looking at, I don't even remember where I went to the store. Oh, yeah, I went for nails. I was trying to get nails because my good friend Sid Floyd was coming over because I don't know how to hang pictures. I don't know how to do these things. I'm a lady. So I had to ask my friend Sid Floyd, hey, you want to come over, hang some pictures? We'll make a day out of it. So what am I trying to talk about? Oh, yeah, the water filter thing. They sold me a water filter, and then they know that it's not going to fit your thing. It didn't screw on. And then they're like, please don't return. I'm going to return it to the store. I would have probably have just thrown it out and not dealt with it. But the fact that they knew that there was a possibility that the little screw caps that they brought to convert your sink into being able to fit into this contraption was most likely not going to fit within the contraption. And they just put it on the store shelf and go, hey, here's a thing for the water. But then they know that a fair amount of sinks aren't going to fit this thing. And they don't tell you to measure your sinks before you purchase it. The guy at the store doesn't give you warning and go, hey, listen, most people buy these things and then they find out that it doesn't fit their sink. And then you're there and you're like, no, I'm going to force this thing to fit. And that never works. You can't rape your sink. It just doesn't work. Yeah, I'm telling you, I'm sitting there and then you try and get a wrench, but it doesn't keep. It's not going to happen. Anyways, I'm just saying you can get the government out of the markets. We'll be fucked anyways. No system's going to work. How's that for a start to the show? All right, we can actually get into some news topics here because we got fun stuff going on. They're shipping immigrants in directly to Martha's Vineyard, and they're out there. They're doing press conferences where they're hugging the people. They're giving these people big old hugs, and then they're whispering in their ear, "Hey, get the fuck out of here! Don't you ever fucking come back to the city." But for the cameras, they're giving them a big old hug, and then they're whispering right into the ear, "You better get the fuck. I don't want to ever fucking see your kind on this island again. Don't you ever fucking think about coming back here. All these places that look like places you could live, all these houses that you're looking at that looks like it's got more rooms, and they're just summer houses with the liberals that are claiming that they'd love to have you here, that they would pitch in and give help, but they're not even on the island. Their house is just sitting. Don't you fucking look at those houses. Don't you even think about coming into these houses." So I not saying that what's going on is the most humane or that it's nice. Everyone tries to live in La La Land. They're always trying to compare reality to La La Land. And so the politicians get to go, yeah, but we just think that everyone should be super rich and taken care of at all times. And yeah, I mean, it's hard to argue with La La Land if you want to pretend like there's all the resources for everything to be great all the time and that you don't end up in a situation where, Venezuela, where, you print all the money, you make all the money available, you pretend like you can do everything, and then all of a sudden nobody can do anything. So what's humorous about this is I feel like the liberal bluff has been called. They're out there and they're going, this isn't a problem. Quit telling us this is a problem. We love these people. We'll do anything for these people. We've got to be humane about it. And so Republican senators, I feel like, and governors have called their bluff. They're like, all right, if it's not a problem, here are the people that aren't a problem. And then they're like, shit. Oh, fuck me. And so it's funny, if nothing else. And how often do they come up with political solutions that are straight up where you can just go, that's kind of funny. You got to give some credit where credit's due. So their big thing is they go, stop politicizing the issue, which to me, it sounds like let's not deal with it. Right? Like, I almost feel like our system for dealing with problems as a culture is supposed to be through politics. And so if you're telling someone to take an issue and not to politicize it, isn't that mean don't deal with it? Hey, we got this thing over here and we're trying to not deal with it. So if you're going to be calling attention to it, you're politicizing it. I don't know. There's something very confusing about this argument of don't politicize the like. Well, the issue is an issue, and our system for dealing with things is politics. So, doesn't that isn't that don't are you saying we shouldn't deal with it? And then I love because we're gonna play usually the new press secretary lady, Jean Pierre sound. She's got the name of like a cologne or something. But she's up there, and usually she does not do a good job. In this case, I gotta say, she does a good job. She does a good job of spinning this thing. And I like that they always claim that there's a process. There's a process to deal with things. And so you can't go outside of the process. And then you're like, yeah, but your process isn't working. And you're just giving me the runaround. It's like being back in every bureaucracy, college administrator, whatever that you've dealt with, where you're like, well, can't we both agree that this is a problem or this doesn't make sense? Well, yeah, but we're going to deal with it. Or probably, can I be a part of that process? Well, is there a way for me to monitor this process? Well, aren't we here because that process isn't working? Listen, we got to go through the proper channels. And if you're not going to go through the proper channels, all right, I really only have two questions in regards to immigration. One, does the state even have the authority to police their own borders, or is that left to the Fed? Like, I'm just saying, legally speaking, if Texas wanted to, could they be like building walls amongst the southern border? Does the state of Texas have the authority to, I guess, deport individuals? Like, is this something that the states could do for themselves if they wanted to, or is it outside of the scope of what they have authority to do? Where, I mean, it's like the old cop thing. A cop can grab you; it's not considered kidnapping, but if you were to do it, it would be considered kidnapping. So, like, there's certain authority, and you libertarians, yeah, you can debate whether or not that's a good idea that single individuals can do it, and I mean, the government can't. That's not. We're not trying to have that OCD dork conversation, people. All right, we're trying to live in practical reality where governors figure out the best pranks where they can piss off the other governors. And hopefully this ramps up. This is a world that I like living in. Maybe there we can have even more hijinks. Gavin Newsom starts rounding up homeless people. He sends them down to Florida. And then DeSantis starts taking old people who are dying of COVID, and he sends them to California so that he ends up on their death numbers. And then I mean, I've already said it, but it's way funnier if we just got military jets and you literally just started parachuting these people. You get them up to the door of the plane and you go, don't worry, the entire ride down, there's going to be free money that you're going to be able to grab. So you absolutely, or the only way that we can get you into this territory that has the resources that you need is by parachute. And you just drop them right onto people's lawns, just right from the heavens. Immigrants, homeless people dying so that they end up on other people's death numbers, or you send in like people unvaxxed into the vaxxed areas. Let's really shake this thing up. I mean, it's full socialism, and we want every single area to be exactly the same. So why not take the individuals that, nobody wants to deal with and just put them right in their backyard? This could be fun hijinks. All right, that was quite the ADD moment. I was trying to ask who has the authority. Is it the Fed, or do the states actually have the authority to do so? And then, I mean, is there something smart if there actually is a crisis down at the border, and the Fed and a lot of the other states that don't have to confront this are trying to say that it's not a problem? So would showcasing the problem actually be beneficial, because then it might resolve it? Because there's something to be said for when like your friend's going through a problem or someone else is going through a problem and you just keep downplaying it and you go that, well, that's not a problem. Well, that's not a problem. And then they start losing their fucking mind. You know what I mean? I wish it wasn't the morning. I wish I didn't have some fucking family thing I had to show up to now. So we could have done this later, and my brain was so much sharper and I could think of perfect examples. So I feel like I've seen this at like when I've worked at companies, like where you know that you've got a problem and you're having a hard time showcasing why there's going to be an issue for the company. And then at some point you almost need to actually have a problem that you can't deal with that then ends up in the hands of another department, or actually ends up in the hands of your boss, where then, and they never give you credit for flagging the problem earlier, but they do finally recognize like, oh, we got to make some changes here. All right, so that's the general scope of what's going on. We've got these people going, stop politicizing the issue. So let's roll through some footage. I've got footage of Jean Pierre, who's actually doing a good job here. I got to give her credit. Some good bullshit spin. She's throwing some spin on this thing. Then we got DeSantis responding, and then we've got footage of all these liberals down in Martha's Vineyard freaking the fuck out. So let's roll some tape. Here we go. Starting with, this was just a tweet from The Hill. Reporter: what can other agencies do to prevent migrant relocations from happening again? So this was the press secretary's response. No calls to preview or to announce at this time. This is something that could easily be stopped if Republican officials decide to stop playing political games. So let's just remember that the border There was no problem at the border until Republicans started playing games. Now, as to how these individuals ended up within the states so that these government officials could then ship them to other areas, uh, that's a mystery. Because really, it wasn't even a problem when they snuck into Texas or they ended up in Florida. The border's been completely secure. But as a result of the Republican gamemanship, there's now an issue at the border. I guess people have seen down in Mexico. It just happened that they saw that you can get a free plane ticket to Martha's Vineyard. And now, because of the gamemanship of these governors, they're coming over in droves. They've changed the entire situation. Now, here we go. I give credit. I give credit. I think she stepped up her propaganda skills. She's learning on the job. She showed up. She didn't know how to spin. She really didn't know how to handle herself. And now she's starting to figure out how she can, how she can better lie to the American people. And you got to give credit when people start doing their jobs well. Let's give it a watch.
Solutions. That's what the Biden-Harris administration has been
Do you
doing
guys have
since
any
day
sound on
one,
that? I don't think I have any
including
sound
on
on
the
that.
first day putting forth a
Hold on here.
comprehensive immigration
I got to make
reform to deal
some
with this
changes to the
issue.
system real quick. Hold on.
We
New
have given
equipment.
DHS
New
record
equipment.
funding.
New
We
equipment.
have
Hold
advanced
on.
policies.
I don't know.
What have they done? They do these political stunts. They vote against our funding requests.
I'm gonna have to
They
make a
vote against
change
policies to fix this
there.
broken
All
system.
right. This is why you
Stunts
gotta do
aren't
more homework on
solutions
your own
here.
time and not just text the equipment while it's live. But you guys entertain yourselves for a second because I know how to make this change. Let's do this. Oh, you guys you're able to hear them talking when I did that there. You're saying yes, there is sound. So I just got to make a change that I can hear it on my end. All right, give me a second, everybody. Let's see if that does it. Hold on. I know we're stalling. Hang with me.
Stunts aren't policies.
No, give me 1 second. Give me 1 second. There we go. I think that will have done it. Hold on.
We're over.
All right, you guys can hear that on your end
here
because I can hear that on my end.
Trying to actually fix a system that has been broken for some time, trying to fix a system that was decimated by the last administration. And all we're seeing is from them is petty and dangerous stunts. This is dangerous. They're putting children's lives at risk. They're putting families' lives at risk. And again, I'll say to Republicans again, if they are interested in solving the problem, there are many ways to do this.
All right, I hear you guys are telling me that it's echoing, which I know how to change that. Okay.
On a comprehensive.
I think I can do it this way. It's not going to echo. All right, let's just replay this. And you guys, once again, you'll tell me how bad the echo is or if this is clean.
Bring solutions. That's what the Biden-Harris administration has been doing since day one, including on the first day putting forth a comprehensive. They do these political stunts. They vote against our funding requests. They vote against policies to fix this broken system. Stunts aren't solutions here. Stunts aren't policies. We're over here trying to govern, trying to actually fix a system that has been broken for some time, trying to fix a system that was decimated by the last administration, and all we're seeing is from them is petty and dangerous stunts. This is dangerous. They're putting children's lives at risk. They're putting.
All right, now I hear that you guys are telling me that you can't hear it all, and just for the sake of this episode, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go with a very low-tech solution, and then I got to play with my new soundboard a little bit to figure this out, which I will, but here's the low-tech solution. Everyone ready for this? I think you're going to appreciate the low-tech solution. Here we go.
Families' lives at risk. And again, I'll say to Republicans again, if they are interested in solving the problem, there are many ways to do this. They should vote for record funding that we've put forth for DHS, and they should sign on or work with us on a comprehensive.
All right, so there we have Gene Peer going, stunts are not solutions. This is dangerous, and it is wrong to be using people, you know, to be using people in this way. The one irony to this is that suddenly, we watched footage just yesterday. If you're not a regular viewer of the Run Your Mouth podcast, Kamala Harris is on the news. They ask her about the southern border, and she goes, "Hey, we've got no problem at the southern border." How many times have we been at these meetings with Jean Pierre, and she goes, "There's no problem down there." We put Kamala Harris in charge of that. And the reason why you just see her talking about space is because she went down there and there's not even a problem. She didn't even have to go down there and look at these people that we're putting into these, like, they're not cages. We don't use cages. Instead, we just use like fencing and clear plastic stuff. And then we cram as much people as we can within those things. So, she didn't even need to go down there and check it out. That's how resolved this has been. And now suddenly they're going, well, yeah, we're going to have to come up with wait, so you're admitting there's a problem? Because before you were saying there wasn't an issue. Now you're actually saying, well, we're going to need policies to address the issue. And the stunt, well, it sounds like the stunts made you aware or willing to admit that there's a problem. Sounds to me like you're saying these stunts are successful. On that note, let's take a look, because DeSantis is just running laps around these guys. So now all of a sudden, all these Democrats are out there and they're going, "This is kidnapping. This is abuse of people. This is a crisis." And DeSantis does a wonderful job here of calling out all the bullshit. Let's give it a listen.
I also was a little bit perplexed when I heard that the president is scrambling to get his cabinet together to try to address the fact that you have governors who are helping to relocate illegal aliens to sanctuary cities. Now, he didn't scramble to get his cabinet together when we had millions of people illegally pouring across the southern border. He didn't scramble to get his cabinet together when you had 53 migrants die in some trailer in Texas because they were neglected by the federal government. You didn't see him scramble to get his cabinet together when we had Americans that were victimized by criminal aliens that he led across the border. You didn't see him scramble to get his cabinet together when we hit record fentanyl deaths, which that fentanyl is coming across his open border. It's only when you have 50 illegal aliens end up in a very wealthy, rich sanctuary enclave that he decides to scramble on this. And so I think what we are doing I think what we're continuing to do is use every tool at our disposal to insulate the state of Florida from the negative ramifications of his reckless border policies. And yes, that involves helping with transport. It involves suing on catch and release, which we have done. It's involved making sure that contract.
Well said, Mr. DeSantis. For all the moral outrage from all these individuals going, how can you possibly do this? And the mistreatment. Let's not forget that 50 individuals died in an overheated bus. We've got all this, or at least they're claiming all this fentanyl coming over the border. All these horrible activities of, the coyotes and everything that they do in terms of luring these people to cross the border. And the response when all of that stuff was going on is, hey, there's no problem. It was, shh, shh. We're trying to ruin the electricity grid to pretend like windmills will save us. We're trying to sell a war in Ukraine over here. We're trying to do everything we can not to talk about inflation or our border problem. So, shh. And then there's also something funny about sanctuary cities where I guess there aren't immigrants, where you go, hey, we would love to house these people and help these people. And then someone calls their bluff and goes, all right, well, here's the people. Here they are. And then within 24 hours, they get them right off the island. So let's see the response of the people from Martha's Vineyard. Here's one other quick clip of DeSantis, who's killing it on this one.
pastures. Well, I would just note Biden would fly people in the middle of the night, dump them all across this country. There was no warning on any of this. They're doing it and they're farming people out all around. They're also doing things like, so, we've had people right on the border helping, working ways. They will dump in San Antonio, and these people have, they're basically just there. And a lot.
Lance Hook killing it, coming right in on cue with DeSantis making the same point that for all these claims, we've seen repeated footage of Biden putting people on airplanes, doing something in white planes. We don't even know. Are those just being processed for parts for Nancy Pelosi? Is that where she's getting her fresh placentas from now? Where are all these people that were just flown into white planes? How were they given plane tickets? Where did they end up? So great questions by DeSantis. And then here was his other claim where it was essentially, hey, these people are coming into the country. You guys think that there's a inhumane situation and that they should be cared for. So why don't we help out both you guys? We're going to put them on planes and buses. We're going to bring them into the areas so that they can be with the people who appreciate them and want to help them out. And so this is from CNN, the help that awaits the migrants on Cape Cod. Joint Base Cape Cod, already an emergency shelter designated by the State Emergency Management Agency, is set up to provide a safe temporary accommodation appropriate for the needs of families and individuals, the governor's office said in a release. The migrants will be housed in dormitory-style spaces at JBCC with separate spaces accommodating both individuals and families will not be separated, the release reads. They will have access to services including legal, healthcare, food, hygiene kits, and crisis counseling, according to the Baker's office. So, sounds to me, these people just won the lottery. I mean, talk about how much DeSantis just helped them out. They were going to be stranded in Florida. He's saying openly that the people of Florida don't want them there. And then he brought them right into an area that could better provide for their needs. Round of applause for DeSantis with the humanitarian win. Now, I want to point out, isn't there something a little bit odd that world leaders don't want to do a better job of pretending like they care? Now, I understand, I understand being a rich person and going, I got my money, I got my resources, and I want to keep what I have. But I would think just for public relations purposes, you would see global elites trying to do a better job of just pretending like they care. And so people have pointed out that they're saying that there's no resources available for all these individuals who just showed up on Martha's Vineyard. Doesn't Obama have a $12 million mansion? And aren't there probably rooms available on this mansion? Is he even staying at this mansion at this point in time? For all the talk about wealth and inequality, so you got a guy very powerful, very wealthy, with a house that's being totally unused. Isn't this a good opportunity? Now, I'm not saying that Obama needs to do this. What I'm saying is I'm surprised that he doesn't take the opportunity to do it. I feel like that's a great PR move where you go, I don't want to do the impression, where he just basically says, I'll help these people out. And then he can even do better than that. Look at the PR stunt that Obama would have an opportunity to do. He could just say, listen, this is a terrible situation, and I can't help every single person on earth. I can't do it. I don't have the resources to do it. I have other projects that I'm working on where I'm really trying to lead the country, educate the country. I'm involved in really good work. But what just happened here today, shame on the Republicans. And I feel so bad for these people that with the help of Chase Bank and my other partners, I am donating my house. This current house that is no longer my house, I will be housing these 50 individuals who just showed up. If more people come here, I can't help out more people. But for these 50, I would like to show that I think what happened was so horrible that me and my partners at Chase Bank and the Global Elite are now going to make my house available to them, and we're going to provide the resources that they need so that they can figure out how to live a better and more comfortable life. And then you don't ever have to help anybody out again. And it's no loss to you. You can literally find a corporate sponsor within 3 minutes to go, hey, listen, I feel like we've got a nice move here. I feel like we could actually have an opportunity on our plates to pretend like we care about human beings. But it is amazing how they always go silent. Like they don't even want the publicity stunt of pretending like they care about people. Like, you would think that when these opportunities presented themselves, they would go, wow, I can pretend like I'm a human being. But instead, they shell up. They shell up and they disappear because they don't even like, I would think that this is a golden opportunity for the publicity stunt, but they're like, then people might actually expect me to be a human being. It's interesting to me. All right, let's watch the actual footage of reactions of government officials on Martha's Vineyard. Oh, here, this is from Fox News. We don't need any sound for it, but they're claiming that they have cameras, I guess heat cameras, and that these are all people down in Texas at different crossings who are illegally crossing into the country. They put together this footage, I guess, to showcase the fact of let's not pretend like there isn't an issue at the border. And at a minimum, it's like footage from the Predator movies. So worth seeing. Worth seeing. Is Fox News the most credible of all institutions? Do they maybe send people out there to just walk around in circles? And then, but if this technology exists and Fox News somehow access to it, think about how much footage the government actually has of what's going on at the border. Like, think about the way that they're tracking all of us and our phones and social media and whatnot. Like, do we believe for a second that there aren't heat or other sensors or equipment like this that can pretty at least monitor the situation? Like, I bet if the government sat down, they could pretty easily, they can pretty easily give us a number of how many people have crossed in. And I want to highlight a comment because this is actually really funny. Moderately amused. Robbie, I know where you can find time to fix your audio whenever you're on P2P of 15-minute segments of free time. That's a good one. Good roast. Like it. All right. Now, I've been teasing it. You know, this is some real news over here. Coming at the end, we got the shocking footage. So here we go. We got the actual reactions of the folks living on the island.
Arrived last night make it clear that they were lied to again and again and fraudulently induced to board. Arrived last night make it clear that they were lied to again and again and fraudulently induced to board the planes. They were told there was a surprise present for them and that there would be jobs and housing awaiting for them when they arrived. This was obviously a sadistic lie. Not only did those responsible for this stunt know that there was no housing and no employment awaiting the migrants, they also very intentionally chose not to call ahead to any single office authority on Martha's Vineyard so that even the most basic human needs arrangements could be made, ensuring that no help awaited the migrants at all was the entire point. They were provided with a cartoonishly simple map of Martha's Vineyard and the United States and a brief brochure containing snippets from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts website and instructions to change their address with USCIS when they relocated. This is especially troubling as anyone with even the most basic understanding of the immigration proceedings knows that USCIS was not the agency with whom the migrants would have to record their addresses and has nothing to do with their cases in any way. It is clear that this was an intentional attempt to ensure that these migrants were removed in absentia when they failed to change their address with the proper agency. This was a purposeful derailment designed to prevent people from complying with federal immigration policies. This is problematic because the state should not be interfering with federal immigration policy. Before they boarded the planes, the migrants were
I don't remember why I wanted to highlight that, but I guess it's going to be interesting to find out to what extent these people actually were lied to. I do like that point at the end that apparently this is the obligation of federal agencies. And then also, if you've got this much outrage over these people being cared for, well, then if they're here, now you got the opportunity to care for them. Here's another one. This is Hillary Clinton reacting to what's going on.
Some politicians would rather not only have an issue, but exacerbate it to the extent of literally human trafficking, as you said. And so many.
Isn't it amazing that now there's all the moral outrage? Now this is DeSantis has engaged in human trafficking. Better that we ignore the problem and that they're locked inside. Like, what happens when every other government agency gets involved and rounds these people up? What happens when the Fed do it? So when they have the authority to do so, that's not considered human trafficking. When Biden's putting them on planes, that's not considered human trafficking. Like, so, and isn't it amazing how good these people are at their legally lawyerings and their propaganda and their spin, that they're already out there and they're using terms like this was human trafficking.
Many other Americans, I happen to believe still the majority of Americans are good-hearted and generous. And when people end up on their doorstep in need,
they kick them out within 24 hours. That's what they do.
Respond. They're going to feed them and house them. And the kids in the AP Spanish class are going to be let out of high school so they could go and translate.
La La Land. I mean, even in Hillary Clinton's reality. So if there's one state or there's two states like Texas and Florida, which don't represent the rest of the country, and they don't want the migrants, but in every other area, people would love nothing more than to have the opportunity and their kids leave the school so that they could use their Spanish skills and welcome these individuals. Kind of like the Iraqis. They welcomed us when we landed, right? This is the La La Land that Hillary Clinton lives in. So if she actually believes it, then everyone should be thanking DeSantis. He's relocating people to other areas where these individuals will be appreciated and cared for. Why wouldn't you? Human trafficking. Think about the opportunity you're presented. You're this is like a marriage. You're finding two people that would love each other, that would love nothing more than to be able to help each other out. And then I got one more.
So, what are the most difficult challenges right now?
The difficult challenges are we have, at some point in time, they have to move from here to somewhere else, right? We cannot, we don't have the services to take care of 50 immigrants, and we certainly don't have housing. We're in a housing crisis as we are on this island, and so we can't house everyone here that lives here and works here. We don't have housing for 50 more people.
There you go. It sounds pretty simple. Hey, we don't have the resources for these individuals. Well, firstly, you kind of do. I mean, if your guys are the ones claiming that let's help these people out and we need to live in a moral society where these people are trying to escape the destitute and horrible conditions of their country, and how dare you tell them that they can't just come here? Well, now that they're on your island, your response is, well, we don't have the resources. Well, then that should be the policy nationwide. We don't have the resources to accommodate them, which, by the way, just get rid of all the fucking government programs. We can have all the resources, which is called freedom, and then the opportunity to just show up and have jobs. So let's just understand how evil the liberals actually are here. They force wealth distribution so that you can have a society where other people can come here and look for opportunity, because it would be too much of a drain on the system. There's only so much money that we can redistribute. And if we keep, really what they want to do is they want to hog the redistributions for themselves. They want to make sure that any of the money that gets redistributed doesn't go globally, right? There's a limit to how much we can rob from future generations and other people. And so we just got to make sure that that benefits us and nobody else. And so then these other people come up and then they, then they go, oh, it's not a problem. It's not a problem. We still want to feel good, right? We want to feel like we're moral. And so anyone can come here, and then it shows up at their doorstep and they're like, oh yeah, this isn't going to work. But when they have to confront the fact of oh yeah, this isn't going to work, it's your fault for politicizing the issue, right? It's not a thank you. I didn't realize how dumb I was being. Thank you for calling my attention to the fact that we couldn't even handle 50 individuals and there's millions that are illegally crossing the border. So you know what? Maybe this actually is a bigger problem than I realized. And maybe we better actually take care of it before we end up in a situation where there's people coming to my neighborhood all the time. Wow. Thank you for pointing out the fact that this was a problem. All right. I think that's all that I had on this topic. Oh, this was from NBC News. Florida Governor DeSantis sending asylum seekers to Martha Vineyards is like me taking my trash out and just driving to different areas where I live and just throwing my trash there. A founding member of a foundation which helps refugees says. Even the people that want to help refugees, look at them. Now they're now referring to them as trash. It went from these unbelievable individuals who have taken the chance to escape the horrible lifestyles of their country to live here. And don't you have the humanity that you'd at least be willing to help them out? And we went from that to them being described as trash. And so it's trash, and that since it arrived from the heavens in Florida, that means God wanted that trash to remain in Florida. And so how dare you? And by the way, the biggest kicker is you guys are the one that's saying it's not trash. So if you're saying, like, imagine if I had a bag of trash in my backyard and I go, I'm going to throw this trash out, and you go, you can't throw that trash out. That's beautiful trash. That trash is a gift to humanity. And so I ship the trash to you. You then don't get to go, well, that's trash. Well, that's why I was going to throw it out. I mean, obviously, we're talking about people, so we're not talking about throwing them out. I mean, we're talking about kicking them out, right? We're talking about not letting the trash come in. But then you guys were saying, hey, that's beauty right there. And then all of a sudden it gets sent to your doorsteps, and you guys are referring to it as trash. All right. We're going to do a second episode today. We're not done broadcasting for the day. That's not it. And this is upsetting to me because not all time is the same. When you've got ADD, not all time is the same. There's nothing I hate more than actually finding my flow, getting into an activity, and then finding out that you got some social and family obligation. I'm such an asshole. Whatever. We don't even, I don't even need to divulge about how much of an asshole I'm being right now. Anyways, we are going to take a break. And then we're going to be back sometime in the afternoon, maybe even tonight, maybe even tomorrow morning. I got a full secondary episode here. I got another hour of material. We've got things to talk about politicians getting harassed in the street. We've got all sorts of topics that I'm confused about, such as this special master that's going on. I don't even remember what else is on the docket, but I will be back in a little bit with more episode on this. And then I also am going to be recording a part of the problem, and then I'll be in the city tonight doing some spots. So I'll be back. Thank you to our loyal sponsors, sheathunderwear.com and Yo Kratom and Yo Deltas. And then in Maryland next week with Justin Silver headlining, BK Chris hosting, me and Menu and Hart doing sets. That's going to be a unbelievable show. It's at Fifth Street Brewing Company. I am excited to taste their beers. I've spoken to the owner of this establishment who is a fan of the show. He's telling me about what went into his beers, and I like my beers. It sounds delicious. Sounds like a fun venue. I'm excited to get down there and be running some shows from there. So everybody, get in those cars, coming out. It's going to be a good time. That is it for this portion of the episode. We will be back later today, this afternoon, this evening, tomorrow morning with more episode. Bye.